What happened today is a violation of a separation of powers. South Africans came here to hear the issues. You can't scramble a signal to stop them from hearing. It violates the law that says the legislature must conduct its business in an open and a transparent manner. The Speaker of the National Assembly cannot escalate the issue by sending police into the chamber. For when she does that, it intimidates opposition, it violates the Constitution of the Republic, and without fail, it means that any processes of parliament that must take place, the issues of South Africans cannot be expressed because freedom of association is violated, freedom of speech is violated, and ultimately it undermines the Constitution. South Africans need to know quite clearly that this parliament is a free space where political parties can give expression to their views. It cannot be a space where the executive then have the right to determine for South Africans what can and cannot be said or be discussed. It undermines constitutionality and ultimately robs the people of South Africa of what President Nelson Mandela fought for, which is the upholding of the rule of law and the Constitution. If we allow the police in, the next will be the defense force. And where do we stop? Where does this matter end up? It is a robbery against South Africans and their right to choose which political party they want to be associated with.
Do you agree? Do you think what the EFF did you agree with that stance?
The EFF rose on a point of order and then a point of privilege. They were entitled to do that, but when they were instructed to leave the House by the Speaker, they must leave the House. If they refuse to leave the House, the orderlies of Parliament may remove them. But it is a complete violation of the Constitution and the separation of powers for the Speaker to call in the security forces. The security forces are accountable to the Executive, and Parliament needs to call the Executive to account. That separation is very important. So the orderlies had every right to remove Mr. Malema and the other people who refused to leave when they were instructed to by the Speaker. But the Speaker had no right under the Constitution to call in the police and the security services to interfere in the business of Parliament. And when they refused to give us a straight answer on that, and they had clearly called in the security services, we said this is a matter of principle. It is a matter of defending the Constitution, and it is a matter of defending the separation of powers, because once we sit there and we allow the separation of powers to be violated, we allow the armed police to come into the chamber and interfere in a political process, then we have crossed the line in South Africa. We get Parliament to work by the rules. Firstly, the President must answer questions in question time. That is the first rule. This Parliament is here to hold the President to account. He must answer his questions when there is question time and not run away from this Parliament until he comes to give a PR address on this podium. If people use their right in Parliament to ask questions and raise points of order, and if the Speaker overrules them and eventually instructs them to leave, they must abide by the rules and leave. If they don't, the orderlies of Parliament sort it out, but it is completely wrong and completely unconstitutional and completely against the rules for the Speaker to call in the security services. The way we get things working again is that everyone plays by the rules, starting with a President who comes and answers questions when he's supposed to answer questions, a President that obeys the Public Protector when she says pay back the money, a President that abides by the South African Revenue Service when they tell him to pay fringe benefit tax on Nkandla. He ignores all of that. He ignores all of that. So the first person who doesn't play by the rules in this country is the President of the Republic.
But President Zille, is the EDA not capitulating though in this matter? Because initially in the lead up to the State of the Nation address, you said the EFF should not interrupt the speech by asking questions on pay back the money. Do you now suddenly agree with that?
We never said that people should not ask questions. Of course they should ask questions. We said people should not break the rules. There's a very big difference. People in Parliament are allowed to rise on a point of order and on a point of privilege and on a question, and we will defend that. right. But if the Speaker overrules you, and if the Speaker then asks you to leave the House, even if the Speaker is wrong, the rules of Parliament mean that you get up and you leave. And if you don't leave, the orderlies are allowed to take you out. But it is unconstitutional for the Speaker to get the security forces in to remove people. We must understand the difference. We never said we would stop people asking questions, never ever. We said we have to play by the rules. And the first person who has to play by the rules and who is not above the law is President Jacob Zuma.
Should this State of the Nation address continue? Should President Zuma still address the nation as things are right now?
The issue is all about the Speaker. She must take control of that House and she must decide what is going on there. But we say we can fix South Africa if everyone abides by the rules and the law and the Constitution. Why won't the President go to court? Why won't the President go to court to answer 16 charges of corruption on 700 counts of corruption, racketeering and money laundering? Why has it taken us nearly 6 years to get him into a court of law? It's because he doesn't play by the rules. And the first person who has to play by the rules is the President.